Okay, this video is going along with Chapter 14, Section 1. I'm going to be talking about interest rates for mortgages, principal and interest, adjustable rate mortgages, lots of good stuff in this chapter, fun little chapter. So let's take a look at our homework section. We have the amount financed, number one is $80,000. We have 9% interest, the term is 20 years. The number of thousands financed, remember we're just simply taking the amount financed dividing by 1,000. And then the table factor. So let's take a look at that, because the table factor is an interesting piece of information. Table 14.1 is a schedule of monthly payments to amortize, or to pay off, the principal and interest per 1,000 financed. So they have the interest rate over here, number of years over here, the typical loan. Most of them are going to be 30-year loans. I've seen 15, 20 are all both common. You don't see 5, 10, or 25 very often for home loans, but yet they're certainly a possibility. Some very, very large ticket items could be as much as 35 or 40 years to pay off that. But you're paying it in interest in order to get that information. So this is the table they're going to use in this whole section in order to calculate the monthly payment. So in our problem, they had 20 years at 9%. I'll clear down here, right here. So that's where they got that 9, by just simply taking the number of years in the appropriate column and going down to the appropriate interest rate and then meeting. All right? So then once we have the table factor, we're just taking the number of thousands financed times the table factor. So 80 times 9, 720. All right? So now how do they get the total interest? Well, a couple of ways to do it. Probably the easiest way is taking the monthly payment, so 720, times 20 years, times the 12 months in every year. Okay, so that's the total that they paid out over the course of the loan, minus the original principal. Okay, so about double. Sometimes it's triple. Depending on the larger the loan, the more you're paying in interest. Okay, so that's how they're getting that. So let's do another one of those. So we had 72,500, 6%, 30 years. Okay, so the first question is number of thousands financed. So we're just going to divide that by 1,000. So we're going to have 72.5. Now we have to look up the table factor. So let's do that. So we would have 6% interest, so right here, 30 years, 0.6. I'm going to place that right here. Then we're going to get our calculator out. Again, so we would have 72.5 for the number of thousands times table factor. And our payment then is $435 a month. Still looking for total interest. So we would have $435 a month for 30 years times 12 months. So that's the total they paid out. Subtract your initial total interest then. Okay. Let's do one more. Make sure we know how to do the table, because we're going to do that through the whole section. So we would have amount financed, interest rate, term in years, number of thousand. Remember, we're just going to divide by 1,000. So 154.3. So now we need a table factor. So we have 475, 15. So let's go. So interest rate 475. 15, 7.78. Okay? So I'll write that here, 7.78. We'll just get our calculator back again. So we would have 154.3 times 778. So our monthly payment is going to be $1,200.45. Okay, so again, to get our interest, we're going to times that by the number of years times 12, because 12 months in a year. So that's our total, and subtract then our initial, the difference, shorter the duration, less you pay in interest. Longer, more. A lot of times. All right? Let's look at number 8, because that's kind of an interesting little one. And what they're asking to do here is Mark has purchased a home with a $78,500 mortgage, 9%, 15 years. Calculate the monthly payment and prepare an amortization schedule for the first 4 months of his loan. Okay, an amortization schedule, you're going to have to do some of those in your homework. So I wanted to kind of show you this one to show you how it worked. I sped this up a little bit by looking up the table factor of 10.15. So we would have then 78.5. So 78.5 for our thousands times 10.5 for our table factor. And so we're going to have this for our answer. But I noticed that my 1 didn't catch there, so I'm going to redo this. 0.5 times our 10.15 to get our 1,796, and they're going to round up always, okay, for our monthly payment. So that's going to be our monthly payment all the time, so it really doesn't matter. We can just fill that in here because that part isn't going to change. So if we take our principal and interest to get our payment here, we're going to take our times 0.09 and simply divide by 12 because it's 1 month. Okay, so that is going to be our interest for that first month. All right, see how we did that? Your balance, principal times rate times time. Same thing we've been using all along. And then the portion used to reduce the principal is the difference between these two numbers. So when we subtract those, portion used to reduce the principal is that, 208.03. So we can subtract that then, because that's going to be our next number in order to use our next set of calculations. Okay. So we use that number times 0.09 divided by 12. Okay. So our interest is a little less. And of course, they're going to round up. Okay. And we would subtract. I'll just do that real quick in my head here. Okay, so we're going to have that. And then we're going to subtract this from that amount because we're the principal, that's what we're going to reduce. Interest goes to the bank. We get to reduce this off the loan. So now we're going to have 78,082.38. And then we use this number to do the next numbers and so on down there. So we've done this type of thing before, just simply taking our number and then using it for our next set of calculations. So go slow and easy on those types of problems because you will see some in the homework. And the next set of problems starts with number 9, where you're taking your principal and interest and adding your property taxes, which most of the banks will collect for you, and your insurance, so they know it's paid. So they're going to handle all that, and you're going to have to add that to your monthly payment. So let's see how they got that. So they took the amount financed, they had the interest rate, 20 years. So when they took their table factor, this is what they got. Okay, they've already done that math for you. So how did they get this number? Well, they added your property taxes and your insurance, and they divided it by 12 because each month. Okay, so that's going to be 100 and so basically I'm going to write that down because I'm going to get rid of all those things, and they're going to round up, of course. So that's going to be an additional $181.92 a month. So if we clear that out, so 181.92 plus your principal and interest, that's how they got the principal and interest, taxes, and insurance, which is what those stand for. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. You're going to add these two up, divide by 12 because you're going to spread them out over the 12 months. You don't have to pay them all at once. So let's do one of these. Let's do 10. So our number of thousands, okay, so we're going to divide that by 1,000. So move it over 3. So 128.8. I looked up the table factor for us, just like what we did a few minutes ago, times 7.78. So it's going to be 1,002.06 as your monthly principal and interest portion. So then we look at our property taxes and our insurance. So we add that on there. And we're going to divide by 12 because we're working in monthly payments. So we're going to add 304.58 to that. So 102.06 plus 4.58. Total then payments 1306.64. So in that whole list there, you're just going to simply add both of those together, divide by 12, because you're working in monthly information. Okay? So all those are the same. Next section, I wanted to do one of the word problems with you. And number 15 is one that you would normally do in your homework. So I'd like to do that with you or for you. So the relevant information, we have $272,900 for the price of the home. They're going to make a 10% down and qualify for a 25-year, 7-year mortgage loan. So first off, the relevant information says that they're going to make 10% down. So they're not going to finance that. So they're going to pay then 90% of this amount. So 272,900 times 0.9 because they put 10% down. So they only have 90% left. So 2, 4, 5, 6, 10 is the amount that they're going to finance. So that's the amount we're going to work with. So because they paid some down payment, they only have this amount left to finance. So we need a 25.7. So we need a table factor. So let's look up the table factor. So we have 25 years, 7%, 7.07. See how we got that? We just went across, came down. 707. So we had 7.07 from our table, and that was from the 25-year 7%. Our number of thousands, we're going to move this decimal over 3.61 times the 707 to get our monthly payment. So we just get out our calculator. So, clear? 245.61 times 7.07 equals. So our monthly payment then is going to be $1736.46. All right. So our next part of the question, it says, how much interest will they pay over the life of the loan? Okay, that's a good question. It's always interesting to figure that out. So we have, this is our monthly payment. We're going to go for 25 years. So we're going to times that. Let's round this off. We don't want to get the number too big. Okay, times 25 years times 12 months each year. So the total then is going to be over $500,000. Okay, so that's our total. And then our principal, we have to subtract that from. So 245,610, which is our amount of interest. And most people would look at that and go, ouch, that's a lot of money, which it is, which is why the banks are happy to loan you money, because they're going to make that amount of money over time. Now, it takes them a long time, 25 years, to make that, but that's still a fair profit for the bank on the money that they loaned you. So that's how we do those problems. The next page is, again, some more word problems. Number of steps. You're using the table 14.1 in order to get your table factor, and so just be careful when you're looking that up to make sure you have the right one. And then it's the number of thousands still. So we're going to divide all of those numbers by 1,000. So you're dividing each of that by 1,000 in order to get your multiplier times your table factor to get your monthly payment. All right, have fun with those.